Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mina and today I'm going to be doing kind of like mini book reviews. I have recently read 3 horror books that I really enjoyed and I wanted to just sit down, talk to you guys about them, give you some recommendations in case you're looking for something spooky because spooky season has officially begun for me at least. I don't know if you can tell in the background, but right before I started filming this video I decided to just take out all of my like autumn and like fall decor and just put everything out because I'm just like so excited. We're already like past the halfway point of August, so for me that kind of like, I think we're in spooky season. I mean, I know that I read spooky books like all year round, but just in case you're looking for something to creep you out during this time of year, I have 3 really great book recommendations for you, so stick around and I hope you guys find this useful. So the 3 books that I have read recently, all of them are very different from each other, which I guess is good because if you don't like one concept, maybe one of the other ones might be like up your alley. So the 3 books that I'm going to be talking about in this video are When the Reckoning Comes by Latanya McQueen. The other book that I read was And the Trees Crept In by Dawn Kurtagich. Not sure how to pronounce her name. I think it's Kurtagich, but not 100% sure. And the 3rd book that I'm going to recommend to you guys is Chasing the Boogeyman by Richard Chismar or Kismar. Again, not sure how to pronounce that last name. But all 3 of these books I have read within the past like week and a half, I want to say, and I've read them all like pretty quickly, so you know when I'm reading quickly, since I'm like such a freaking slow reader, that the books are really good if I'm getting through them in like 2-3 days, couple of sittings, that type of deal. So I'm gonna go in order from the one that I read first, then second, and then third. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a description about what each book is about and then just tell you why I really like it and why I think you should pick it up. So the first one that I read was When the Reckoning Comes by Latanya McQueen, and this book, so I did not even know that this book was in existence. I didn't know that it was coming out until I randomly stumbled across it in a blog post. I was basically just researching upcoming horror releases because for some reason I just didn't have any idea of what I was planning to pick up for like the end of summer into fall. I wasn't sure of like what were the upcoming releases for like thrillers and horrors. I just wanted to do a little bit of research. So I did that and I came across this blog post and they were talking about some of the scariest books that were coming out from now until like the fall spooky season, and one of them was this book, When the Reckoning Comes, which I had not heard of previously, had not seen anybody post about it, so to me it was kind of like a hidden gem, and obviously I'm recommending it to you guys because it was so freaking good. This book was a 5 out of 5 star read for me, and I do not give 5 stars easily. I think this is only the 2nd, possibly 3rd 5-star book that I've given so far in 2021, and we're already like more than halfway through the year, so that is saying something. This book is about a woman who is returning to her hometown in the South, and previously when she lived there as a child, it was a very like segregated type of town, involving like racial segregation, economic segregation. There was just a lot of like discrimination. She herself is a Black woman and the author is also a Black woman, so we do have own voices there, which is really awesome. And she returns to her hometown as an adult after having left this town from a creepy, traumatic experience that she had when she was a teenager. And the reason for her return is because one of her best friends is getting married, but unfortunately her best friend is getting married on a plantation, and our main character is obviously not happy about that situation. Okay, so my camera just abruptly stopped filming because my memory card was full, so hopefully I know exactly where I am picking up here. But I was saying that she does decide to return home to support her friend and because she wants to see one of her other friends that she hasn't seen in years. However, once she does get there to the wedding, she realizes that the plantation is possibly haunted by the ghosts of the slaves who have worked there in the past and who are coming back to enact revenge on the descendants of the white masters who enslaved them and who treated them horribly. So it's a very, very strong topic, and definitely not one that you can go into lightly. Just from the content of slavery and plantation life, I already knew that this was going to be super important, super powerful, super intense. So please just be warned in terms of like content. There's a lot going on here with abuse, and even like sexual abuse, and just anything you can imagine that happened during slavery times and plantation life. It might be a good idea to research ahead of time in case you are particularly sensitive to reading things of that nature. However, this book was just so freaking good for me. I felt like it was truly terrifying, like in two types of ways. One, just like surface level, the supernatural aspect of this book was done so well. I think that McQueen did an excellent job of delivering scares, delivering like chilling moments. The imagery was there. Literally from the first freaking page, like the intro, there's like a little section here, the first couple of pages that are written in italics. I was literally getting goosebumps just from reading that first section because, like I said, it's terrifying in two ways: that surface level supernatural aspect, and then also just the content that is being discussed, because obviously the events that occurred during slavery times were absolutely harrowing and horrifying and just gruesome, gory, all of that. So because of that aspect of the content, you kind of get, like I said, a dual terror in this book, and it was just really, really scary for me. And I don't usually get spooked easily by books, but this was definitely something that I found myself like, oof, like that's creepy. Just like picturing what's going on, very, very disturbing and scary. So that is something that I'm always looking for when it comes to horror, is like, is this book actually scary? Is the author delivering enough spooky content, enough chills, enough like haunting moments in the book? And I definitely think that McQueen delivers that. So that's absolutely one reason why I love this book. Also, as I said, the content of this is so powerful and so intense, and there really is a lot of discussion here involving race, not only like from the time of slavery, but also presently what we're dealing with and how the effects of slavery are still lingering today, how we are still impacted in this country, in this society, by the events of plantation life and slavery life, and why we should not be forgetting these incidents, because they have literally been the foundation of how we're living to this day. So I think that the discussions were super important in here. And for me, one thing that really makes a horror book stand out is when there's a lot of social commentary and actual important discussions going on within the plot, and it's not just like scary for the sake of being scary, or like gory for the sake of just, you know, being gory. I do enjoy those things from time to time, but if I really want to like separate like my top tier horror and like the ones that stand out in my mind and the ones that I just like recommend that pretty much everyone reads, it's the ones that are embedded with important commentary, and I think that this one definitely hit that right on. The writing in here was excellent. I would love to read more from McQueen in the future if she does decide to write, especially horror. Like, I'm really hoping that she decides to write some more horror novels, because this was like excellent for me. I also really thought that the characters were interesting to follow. They were very dimensional, very believable, realistic. So to me, it was like an all-around like great book, and I absolutely enjoyed it. It's also super short, so this is something that you can bang out in a couple of sittings, and perfect for the Halloween season. So if you're looking for a good supernatural read, highly recommend this one. Okay, I feel like I just raved about that so much that I don't even know how I'm gonna be able to top that review with my other two books, but we're gonna try. So the next book that I want to talk to you guys about is And the Trees Crept In, and this is also like a supernatural ghost story in a sense. I was recommended this book by somebody in our live chat for the Camp Spooky Readathon back in June. We were doing a live show for the lake, and one of you guys, I don't remember who it was, said if you're looking for a good like woodsy type of horror, or like a supernatural horror that takes place in a creepy woods environment, this would definitely be a good pick for that. And it absolutely was. So basically, this book is about two sisters who are escaping a very troubled, toxic, abusive home life, and they're going to live with their aunt somewhere that they've never been before. It's like in this gothic mansion, this gothic manor, all the way behind like the woods. So they do travel there and they end up staying with their aunt. However, once they arrive there, they start to realize that some spooky and creepy things are going on concerning the woods that is outside of the manor property. For instance, there is this creepy entity, monster, I don't really know how to like describe him or categorize him, who haunts the woods and who does not let the two girls leave the manor. So they're basically like stuck within the manor. Also, another creepy thing that is happening in this book is that the main character starts to believe that the trees are slowly like making their way closer to the manor. Basically, the woods are like creeping in on the manor and like blocking them from the rest of society. So it's a very like psychological type of supernatural horror, which I thought was really, it was a nice blend of the two, and it definitely felt like you were really in this main character's perspective in her head. It almost felt like very stream of consciousness type of writing where it's literally just her thoughts like going back and forth. And also within this book we get little snippets of mixed media portions, so diary entries and like letters, and there's a little bit of like poetry at the beginning of every chapter. There's also like a really interesting way that this author decides to use language and font in the formatting of this book. I'm gonna see if I can find a page just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. But for example, here you can see that some of the words are like super large. Sometimes she spaces out the words in different ways, or there's a lot of repetition. Here's a perfect example of like the words kind of like making a design along the page. And I'm not like a huge fan of those like quirks when it comes to like formatting. I'm a very like straightforward type of person. I'm traditional. I like to read regularly formatted novels. So to me, I didn't particularly love that aspect of this book, but I think anybody who is interested in poetry or just like creative ways of formatting or mixed media, I think you would definitely love this one. I did enjoy the story though. Aside from the formatting bits of this book, it was definitely captivating, definitely creepy. There were some really haunting like imagery moments in here, particularly with that like man entity out in the woods. I visualized Slender Man whenever they were discussing him in the book, so it definitely had its chilling moments. And the ending of this book, the ending of this book is what sold me. So I was reading through it and I was enjoying it. It definitely has like this folktale horror or like gothic horror vibe to it, so if you do like that aspect of horror, I think you'll enjoy this. But I was reading it along fine and I was enjoying it, and then once we got to the ending, it just took this like whirlwind turn that I can't really describe to you. But I absolutely loved the way that this book ended. I thought that it was very satisfying to me. Great conclusion to this book, and I'm gonna give you guys some comparisons of like movies and TV shows that I thought reminded me of this book. So this felt like a mix between Coraline, because of like the weirdness and creepy weirdness vibe of Coraline, as well as the horror movie Mother with Jennifer Lawrence. And I'm not sure if many people have seen that movie, but if you have, you'll understand that there's just something so odd about the plot, and it kind of just like jumps you into different scenes without too much explanation, and you're kind of left confused throughout until the very end of the book. So that's the vibe that I got, like a mix of those two movies. And then towards the end of this book, it reminded me a lot of that episode of The Haunting of Bly Manor, that one episode where it was just super trippy and we were going like back and forth between like memories and like time. It got very much like that towards the end of this book. I absolutely loved the way that this book turned out, and I think that this is a perfect read for Halloween. If you want to read something spooky in October, I think that this would be great because of the way that it's just super chilling, the way that it almost has like a haunted house feel to it. I really did enjoy this one, and I think I'm going to rate it about a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I liked it, I really liked it, but it's just the formatting wasn't totally for me, so I think I would dock it a little bit because of that. Okay, and the last book that I'm going to recommend to you guys is Chasing the Boogeyman by Richard Kismar. I need to know how to pronounce his name. But this book is totally different from the other two. It is not supernatural. It is not speculative in any way. This book is actually more of a true crime type of feel. It is fiction, so the events that took place within here are mostly fiction. The author does say that he does pull from some memories of his childhood, and there's a lot of things that are based on reality, like the town that he's writing about and all of the details of the town and the people that he knew. That's all based on reality, but the actual like horror, like serial killer events are not true. However, he does take a very true crime type of approach in his storytelling, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm not like a huge true crime type of person. I'm more of a fictional horror type of girl. That's just like what I prefer. I love, you know, supernatural things, even like slashers. Like just fictional horror is like my thing. So when I first decided to pick this up, I was a little bit hesitant because I was like, I think I'm not going to be so into it because it's true crime, or it's marketed as feeling like true crime. And to me, I normally find true crime to be a little bit duller in terms of like the storytelling and the way that it's written. However, this one really freaking surprised me, and if you're not a fan of true crime, I think you could definitely still enjoy this, and if you are a fan of true crime, I think you'll absolutely love this book. So it is basically about the author's life, right? So he's taking from his own experiences, living in a small town. He decides to go back to his hometown just to like get some of his writing done after he finishes from college. And while he's there, there are a couple of disappearances and murders of some of the teenage girls in town. And the girls end up being found mutilated and dead, and basically there's a serial killer on the loose in this small town, and it goes about the investigation, but more so from the perspective of the main character. So it's not really like a detective POV, it's not really like police procedural. It's more like journalist type of perspective, which is always something that I enjoy reading from because I myself like to write. So it's interesting to see like how other writers perceive things and use that within their writing. So I always enjoy that. If you're somebody who likes reading from like writers' perspectives or journalistic perspectives, this one would definitely be for you. And I also felt like the way that he explained the events happening was super compelling, super interesting. I was never really like bored of the situation. Even within his description of the investigation, he would also give some little tidbits about his own life and like his relationship to his friends, to his fiance, to his parents, like different things that were not totally related to the actual crime of the novel, but just the way that he wrote it to me was super fascinating, and I didn't find myself bored. I do have to say that the first 30 or so pages of this book felt very like autobiographical. I wasn't getting any of the crime. He did take a while to actually build up to the crime events, but once they started, I was totally invested in this. I was like fascinated by what was happening, just like hearing him talk about looking for evidence and him talking to the detectives and just working kind of like on his own behind the scenes trying to solve the mystery of who the serial killer is, while there also being some like eerie, unsettling moments that he has kind of maybe with the killer. It was just very interesting. It reminded me a lot of the movie Zodiac, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Definitely has that like consuming aspect that Zodiac has, that when you start working on a project or like an investigation and you just get so caught up that it pretty much takes over your entire life. That kind of vibe, we've got that going on in here. So definitely a great read. There were also some interesting like photographs in here that he included just to make it feel a little bit more true crime-esque. And I do have to say that at the end of this book, at the end of this book, there was a little bit of a twist, but I saw it coming. I know, like, I always brag about that, but for me that like just makes me feel good when I like can predict the twists. They were like going to reveal the twist on the next page. I'm not going to spoil anything. And I was like, oh, let me guess. I already know what it is. And then I guessed it, flipped the page. I was correct, and I was like, I got it, guys. So for me, I mean, it felt a little bit predictable in that sense, just because I was able to figure out that little twist towards the end, but still really, really great read. Very, very interesting, very fast paced. I read this in like 2.5 days, which is very rare for me. I'm also going to give this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was excellent. I'm not a huge true crime fan, but for me, this felt very, very, compelling, I guess you could say. So highly recommend that one. Okay, so that is it. Those are the 3 horror books that I have read recently that I really, really enjoyed. There's something here for everybody in case you like, you know, true crime, in case you like supernatural horror, gothic horror, folk-esque horror. I got it all here for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you do check out these books because they were absolutely awesome. I'm hoping that I can get some more like really great horror reads in for the spooky season. I feel like now that I just like hit the jackpot with 3 books in a row, I'm kind of concerned that it can only go downhill from here, but I'm going to remain positive and hope that my next reads will also be just as amazing as this. Let me know down below in the comments if you have read any of these books or if you are interested in reading them. Also, let me know down below what are some horror new releases that you are excited for that are coming out within the fall and spooky season, because I am always looking for more recommendations, so please put whatever you can on my radar so that I have more books to look forward to. And as usual, I will see you guys in my next video. I hope that everybody has a wonderful day today. Bye, guys.